G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, review of the week time. How is your Monday morning going? Hope it's going well. As always, just want to thank the Hit Company for sponsoring this video. Let's talk about the news in boxing. Before we do, we'll talk about some of the fights that happened over the course of the weekend. And I think best to start with the top rank card, because this is the one that I saw, well, the majority of the fights on. So, Keyshawn Davis got a win over Anthony Yigit. Now, Keyshawn Davis is a tremendous talent. He's one of the best prospects in boxing. He actually had a couple of fights with Matchroom back a couple of years ago. That was back when he was kind of between pro and the Olympics. That was just before, I think, Tokyo 2020, which happened in 2021. He's very talented. His kryptonite in the amateurs was a Cuban boxer by the name of Andy Cruz. Now, Cruz, he is last I checked, he was out of Cuba. I was looking to make he obviously wants to go pro. Cruz and Davis in the pros over 12 rounds, I mean, take my money. Because I think that will eventually happen if obviously Andy Cruz gets his career up and running. Keyshawn Davis, tremendous talent. Anthony Yigit he really is a European level fighter who every time he's gone near world level, he's been found wanting. And again, against Keyshawn Davis, I would give him another 2 or 3 fights. Probably about another 2 or 3, just step up the competition again, and you're ready to go with him. He is just a tremendous talent. He really is. And Top Rank done well by getting him signed. You know, when you look at this card, the Top Rank card that they put on, it just has a little bit of a showcase of their up and coming talent. Obviously, in Shakur Stevenson's case, he's already there, but their stable of fighters really is tremendous. I mean, Top Rank and Bob Arum, they definitely do. In fact, what I'm saying, probably, they definitely do have the best stable of fighters in boxing. You know, between prospects to people who are already proven. I mean, the depth in there across the weight divisions, it's just tremendous. And one of my favourite prospects, which is the heavyweight contender, I'd say fair to say contender now, Jared Anderson, the real big baby as I call him, because that's obviously his nickname. We obviously know the other big baby in boxing, we call him Big Farmer. Jared Anderson predictably beat George Arias. Now, when I heard they were matching him against Arias, well, there's 2 George Ariases, by the way, in boxing in the heavyweight division. There's the Brazilian George Arias, who is a journeyman, a well-recognisable journeyman. And then obviously there's this George Arias, who is I think he's 5'11", 6 foot, very small, who back about 7 or 8 years ago, he was actually promoted by Top Rank back then, if memory serves me correct. And he gained a lot of hype, he gained a lot of traction, because it was very seldom you see a very short heavyweight who, you know, is good at pressure fighting, loads of energy. Now, was never even the biggest puncher back when he was undefeated, and he's been winning a lot of his fights lately. Actually, I think he won his last 2 fights by split decision, but he's been going the distance a lot lately, and his style has changed very dramatically. Like, he was a pressure fighter with an insane amount of energy early on in his career, to now being a fighter who gives his opponent plenty of time and space and tries to keep it at range. Very strange to see a short heavyweight like that. Like, a good example would be Rivas. Oscar Rivas is quite similar in the sense of he keeps it at range, even though he's quite short. But Rivas is a bigger puncher. He's bigger in terms of his size, and he's got a much better jab than George Arias. So he's able to, not always successfully, but he's able to fight at range a lot better than Arias is. Arias was completely overwhelmed in this fight. Was hurt at the end of the 3rd round, and the corner stopped the fight. George Arias wanted to come out, but the corner were like, you're not going out. And correct decision, to be honest with you, because he would have got absolutely gobbled up and eaten alive by Jared Anderson. Anderson, a lot of people have been asking me whether I think he's ready to go in at the deep end now. It's difficult to say. You know, in terms of the world level guys, or, you know, the guys who are at world level but who don't get much of a shout, you know, your Frank Sanchez's of the world, I wouldn't. You know, the Joe Joyces, no, I wouldn't. I think that's way too soon. If you were looking at, we'll say, the Dylan Whites of the world, the Jermaine Franklins of the world, I'd say, yeah, take it. Yeah, why not? You know, I would pick him over Jermaine Franklin. I'd pick him over Dylan White at this stage. Jared Anderson, you know, he's been in the camp with Tyson Fury, and by all accounts was doing very well against Tyson Fury in the spars. So why not? Like, he seems to be very confident, very athletic, you know, very impressed with what I've seen from Anderson. Why not take a stab? And okay, look, there's world level, which is a big jump. But as I said, Franklin, White, I was going to say maybe a Kubrat Pulev, but I think he's definitely seen better days now at the minute. Ortiz, you know, guys like that. Even a Joseph Parker. I mean, at this stage, I'd probably pick Anderson over Joseph Parker, to be honest with you. Because Parker, I mean, he has just gone, he just regressed and regressed and regressed. And I don't really care who you have training him. You know, you've Andy Lee training him now, where before you have Kevin Barry. It's down to the fighter in his sense, and I don't think there's anything you could get anyone to train Joseph Parker to bring out a bit of fire in him or to get him better than he's looking now. So at this stage, I probably would pick, if they announce the fight tomorrow, I'd probably pick Jared Anderson to beat Joseph Parker, truth be told. And at the top of the bill, we obviously had Shakur Stevenson. This was his official debut at lightweight. You know, obviously his last fight he missed weight, so he's now in the lightweight division, called out the likes of Devin Haney. I think Shakur, it's a case of when, not if, he picks up multiple titles at lightweight. And then it's just a case of, right, well, how is he going to look at 140? Because I think Shakur Stevenson is mega talented, absolutely tremendous, and he is going to, look, realistically, it's not inconceivable. Probably would get a bit difficult, but it's not inconceivable that he could do some serious work at 147 pounds. Seriously, he's young enough. I reckon he could do some work there. In terms of the PBC card that we had, now, I'll just talk about the undercard fights. I didn't realise Chris Arreola was on this card. He got a win in the second round over Matthew McKinney. Chris Arreola, I mean, he's retired so many times, I'm surprised he's still sticking around. Frank Sanchez versus Daniel Martz. Daniel Martz is a journeyman. He's not particularly durable. So he was 247 in this fight. I can't remember what Frank Sanchez is normally weighing in, but he got a first round knockout. Gabriel Mastier, he beat Devin Alexander. I mean, why the hell Devin Alexander is still in the ring is beyond me. I mean, I thought he retired years ago, but evidently not. Didn't he fight Berto? Didn't he beat Berto, or did Berto beat him? Which one was it? Yeah, he lost to Berto. In fact, Devin Alexander hasn't had a win since 2017. He's lost his last 4 fights and a draw with Victor Ortiz. I mean, again, why is that? Devin Alexander wasn't a bad fighter back in the day, but I mean, at this stage now in his career, Jesus Christ. Brandon Lee getting the win over Pedro Campos. That was at welterweight. Let's see how Brandon Lee gets going. But obviously the main talking point is Sebastian Fundora. Now, I've said this on the live, and I've said this about Fundora before. The fact that he's a 6'5", 154 pounder with an 80-inch reach, it looks strange. I'm not going to lie, it does look a bit strange. He doesn't fight anything like a 6'5", 80-inch reach, 155 pounder. He just comes straight forward with very little concern about what the opponent is throwing back. Looks to impose himself, which I think is a mistake. Easy to hit. Against Sergio Garcia, I thought he was lucky to get the nod in that fight. I picked Sergio Garcia to win that fight, and I thought Sergio Garcia done very well. And to be honest with you, you know, I've been expecting him to take an L for a while now. I've not been particularly impressed with Fundora. And against Brian Mendoza, I mean, got ironed out in the 7th round. Wasn't surprised. Now, I expected this loss to come around at some point. Fundora, again, like, he's only 25, so there is still time, but you're 6'5", 154 pounder, 80-inch reach. Why not use it? You know, well, why not use the reach to keep these guys off? So, there was that. Obviously, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, he picked up a version of the flyweight title there over the weekend, and Eddie Hearn has actually been saying that he's declared that Sonny Edwards versus Jesse Bam Rodriguez will happen next, as an IBF WBO unification fight, because obviously Jesse Bam Rodriguez picked the WBO flyweight world title there over the weekend. Now, obviously on that card, you had MJ Akhmadaliev. Now, I haven't actually gone back and had a look at the fight, but MJ Akhmadaliev took an L. And as many of you will know, I think quite highly of MJ Akhmadaliev, so I haven't had a chance to go back and look at that. I was trying to catch up on a lot of boxing yesterday, but I'll go and watch it today. That's going to be interesting to see that fight. MJ Akhmadaliev taking an L, because I quite like Akhmadaliev. Now, I would have thought that I wouldn't be picking him over Inoue, but I would have thought that between him and Fulton, they're Inoue's toughest tests at that weight. So very, very, very interesting. Very interesting. So I'll have to go back and have a look at that fight. Showtime's Stephen Espinoza has declared that he is very optimistic over Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford, and they're getting closer, but they are still some obstacles before the fight is finalised. He added that June the 17th isn't set, with July also a possibility. Interesting. Now, as many of you will know, I really, really, really hope that this fight happens. I love Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. I think it's a great fight. I think both guys, right now is the kind of last real time we will get to get it before Errol Spence moves up. And I think Crawford, he's not had a punishing career, but he's not getting any younger. I mean, at his age, especially at welterweight, you expect to see decline now. So I think this is the last chance we could really get to have this fight where both guys are close enough to their peaks. Because it's fair to say probably Crawford has slowed down a little bit. I mean, he's probably not far removed from his prime, but I wouldn't say he's in it. And Spence, although he's looked good his last few fights, you still do look back at the car crash and think, what did that really take away from him? So look, the ideal time to have this fight, in my opinion, would have been 2017, 2018. But the fact that we're getting it now and both guys still undefeated, let's do it. Let's have undisputed at welterweight. If we can't get undisputed at heavyweight, this is pretty good. So I hope to God they get this fight over the line. Whatever issues that are happening there, they're not big issues and it can be ironed out. Boom, we get this fight. That's what I'm hoping for. He also stated that they really want to make an aggressive offer to Canelo for the David Benavidez fight if there's an opening later this year after the John Ryder fight. They did state that, however, that David Morrell is also a possibility. I mean, that's going to be a tricky fight for Benavidez if he fights Morrell, because that's a Cuban super middleweight who's very talented, and he, no offense, but he doesn't bring much to the table by way of money. I mean, Alvarez versus Benavidez, you did that fight, you wouldn't even need to do it in Mexico. It's a massive fight. But if you did it in Mexico, I mean, wow, that is going to be doing some serious numbers. And it's a good fight. It's a fun fight. It's entertaining. Bivol, I can't see Canelo beating Bivol. I can't see what he does different in this rematch, if they do have the rematch, to win. I just can't see it. I think Bivol, that style is going to give Canelo bother regardless what weight it's at. Benavidez, I think Benavidez, is obviously going to give Canelo trouble too. But it's a much more eye-friendly fight, I mean, Benavidez comes forward, he's a big target, he throws a lot of punches. Canelo likes that, If you want to get a style that Canelo looks good against, it would be these come-forward guys, Benavidez, who give Canelo chances to hit him. That really is a tremendous fight. So, look, Canelo has options there, whether it is Bivol or whether it is Benavidez. Either fight, of course, I'll watch. But if you ask me in terms of just entertainment-wise, you would say Benavidez. It really does fall down to Canelo at the end of the day, and I suspect that he is chasing that legacy. Now, an outsider's bet would be, now look, I know where some people say, gee, he's got to fight John Ryder. Yeah, he's got to fight John Ryder, but who really thinks John Ryder is going to win that fight? I certainly don't. And my kind of thing about that fight is I hope John Ryder tries to win rather than do a Callum Smith and be like, where's my money? And just try and get through 12 rounds and see you later. I hope that's what happens. Or, sorry, I hope that's not what happens. I hope John Ryder actually tries to win. But who's giving him a prayer, really? Outsider's chance on Badou Jack versus Canelo in September. Because when Badou Jack picked up that title, I swear he's a massive target on his back now. Because Jack, Jack's a good fighter, very good fighter. He's one of my favourite fighters. I used to love watching Badou Jack at super middleweight, but he's definitely seen better days. And Makabu, good lord. I mean, it must be something that happens when you sign with Don King. Even if you've not looked like regressing as a fighter, he just regress by default. Maybe he sucks the life out of you. I don't know. Wouldn't even rule that one out, to be honest with you. So that's that. Let's see. Gervonta Tank Davis asked if he would ever fight Inoue at a catchweight. Probably that'd be a fun fight. That would be technical, but I'd be too big for him. At a catchweight. I mean, there's a massive weight difference between the two if you think about it. I mean, like Inoue having his first fight at super bantamweight, 122 pounds. Tank Davis is a lightweight, you know. So what weight would you do it at? You have to do it at. You could not even do that at super feather. I mean, I'd be picking Tank Davis every day of the week over Inoue, just based upon the size and power. If he thought that Nonito Donaire hit hard at bantamweight, that's nothing compared to what Davis can do at 135 pounds. And Inoue, yeah, I'd be picking Tank Davis every single day of the week over Naoya Inoue if they did it at something like a catchweight like that, because that is a big. You're talking about 10 pounds potentially for him to jump up. We need to see how he looks against Fulton. I think he's going to beat Fulton, truth be told, in July. I'm looking forward to that fight, I really am. It's a shame they had to push it back to July instead of having it in May, but injuries happen, I guess. Now, Eddie Hearn stated this on April the 7th. And I'll touch on this because I'll touch on this now in a sec. But he stated that Joshua versus White was the front runner for Joshua's next fight in July. Now, no sooner did he say that 2 days later, Joshua took to Instagram. And he said this: "My next fight is scheduled for December, not July. Not ideal, but everything is part of a bigger picture." Now, this led to speculation as to why this is. Now, for me, it's only really two options, or two possibilities, I should say. One is he's injured, and he's just not divulging the injury. So he could have picked something up against Jermaine Franklin. Potentially he had an injury going into the Jermaine Franklin fight. I don't know. I didn't want to pull out. I don't know. That could be one of the possibilities. And it could be a bit more serious. Because obviously fighters have injuries, niggles, they get surgery on them. But it seldom keeps them out of the ring for 9 months. Unless it's a bad injury. A really bad injury. And you would have expected to have seen that with Joshua in the fight. Or potentially during it. Maybe you could see him pick an injury up. Didn't see anything like that, but that's not to say it's not true that he doesn't have an injury. So that could be one of them. Second of which is, and someone did point this out to me, correctly by the way, in the comment section of the video I done on Joshua, where they said that Joshua admitted going into this Franklin fight that he's in the game for money. Which he said that he is. And potentially he's seen a big fight come up, have to wait till December, but a big fight with big money. Rather than go through what maybe Eddie Hearn wants him to go through, which is the rehabilitation, have another fight in July against Dylan White, you know, maybe potentially have another fight in December against someone a bit at Dylan White's that maybe above it, and then focus on 2024 as being the year where you really, you know, you go for it. He's seen an opportunity now in December to fight a Deontay Wilder, a Tyson Fury, an Alexander Usyk again. I just thought, you know what? Yeah, the hell with it. I'm just going to take this fight. Big money fight. Let's go. Let's put it all on red. That's potentially the other thing that's happening. Look, Eddie Hearn was asked by Steve Kim. He said, Eddie Hearn, you got answers here. And he said, all in good time with a winky face emoji. So it would imply to me that this is a pretty sudden kind of thing. Because obviously you're only talking about 2 days ago. And I think Frank Smith said on the Zone card interview ID Boxing something like that they were looking at Dylan White in the summer and stuff like that. So it kind of strikes me as kind of out the blue for all parties involved. Now, look, all will be revealed. Will they announce that Joshua is next in line to face the winner of Alexander Usyk should he fight Dubois or Joyce? Is he next in line for a shot at the WBC title held by Tyson Fury? Will he get, if we get undisputed, which I really am hoping, crossing everything we do, will he get an immediate crack at the winner? i.e. the winner of Fury versus Usyk? I don't know. It's a strange one. Could it potentially be that the Saudis have pumped up the money and said, how about you fight Ngannou in December? Which, I mean, it's a big money fight for whoever gets that Ngannou fight. Really is. It's an absolute bumper payday. That's why you have people like Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora, Dylan White, Fury. They're all mentioning Ngannou because it's a big, big, big payday with very little risk in reality. So that could be one of them. It is strange. I don't really know what's going on there. And in terms of fights that have been talked about, I actually seen, speaking of just Conor Benn has been removed from the Ring Magazine welterweight rankings following his positive drug tests. They were waiting for the outcome of the British Boxing Board of Control investigation before making a decision, but have removed him as he has not cooperated with the investigation. I seen that, I think it was the California State Athletic Commission said that they wouldn't basically license Conor Benn based upon the WBC saying boxes are ticked, you're okay. They're going by what the British Boxing Board of Control and UCAT are saying. And look, all I'll say is we need to see what's going on here, because you want us to believe you're innocent. As I've said several times, you say you have this dossier that proves your innocence, but you won't hand it over to the British Boxing Board of Control so they can have a look at it and say, yep, fine, all's a good. Instead, you're going to go around telling people you're innocent, and only the really, really absolute Neanderthals believe you. And that's just the people who actually believe that this whole Conor Benn thing is signed and sealed and done. I mean, birds of a feather flock together, as the saying goes. I mean, you have to have Conor Benn level type brains to believe that this is all signed and sealed and it's done. I think until we see what's going on here with UCAT, you can't say this is done. And I seen someone report, who was it? Was it Boxing Kingdom or someone like that was saying that they're hearing rumours that Eubank Jr. potentially could actually go and fight Liam Smith instead. So wait and hear what's going on with this whole situation with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. Obviously that fight is being penciled in provisionally for June the 3rd in Saudi. But if Chris Eubank Jr. Would Chris Eubank Jr. do it just to spite Team Benn and Team Hearn? In a sense of make them believe, okay, look, we're getting Eubank versus Benn. Eubank is going to go. He's going to fight Eubank. He's going to fight him in Saudi Arabia. All this is going to happen. And then all of a sudden, now actually I'll fight Liam Smith again. I'll fight him in the summer. Would he do something like that? It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. It wouldn't surprise me, but we'll wait and see. Will we get an announcement on Eubank versus Benn in the coming days? Or will we get an update on Eubank versus Benn in the coming days? That I don't know. I also heard Frank Warren in an interview this week talking the possibility of Deontay Wilder facing Alexander Usyk in Saudi. I mean, Usyk versus Wilder is an interesting one. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I want to see Undisputed. I want to see him fight Fury, and vice versa. I want to see Fury fight Usyk. If we don't get this fight, and Dubois steps aside, and we get Deontay Wilder versus Alexander Usyk, well, for one, and interestingly enough, Deontay Wilder apparently is number 1 ranked by the WBA. I mean, make that make sense. I'm really sure he is. Let's see if I can find it. I'm really sure I seen a statement come out by the WBA where they actually put Deontay Wilder in. Now, number 1 ranked and being mandatory, they're very different. So if you're mandatory, you're mandated to fight the champion. But if you're number 1 ranked, you're just number 1 in the rankings. Normally when something like that happens, it's an indication that we're getting a fight. Normally. Not always, but normally. How in God's name you'd rank him number 1 having just fought Robert Helenius is beyond me. Now I know Helenius was highly ranked by the WBA at the time, to be fair. But still, really? 1 fight and he's already number 1 ranked? Crazy. We'll wait and see what happens there. I mean, Usyk versus Wilder, at the end of the day, if we're not getting Fury, then it's a bit of a consolation because it is a good fight. It's an intriguing fight with Wilder. You never know until it's over because that power is just like that. But if you look at Deontay Wilder, in terms of stylistically, who would you say Usyk is the most similar to who he's fought? You would say Artur Szpilka. Now, Szpilka is not a particularly good heavyweight. Not done anything of note, really. He is a pound shop Alexander Usyk. And he had a lot of success against Deontay Wilder. If he can do that, best believe Usyk's going to have success too. confirmed that Josh Taylor will defend his WBO super lightweight world title against Teofimo Lopez on June the 10th, MSG Theatre in New York. So looking forward to that one. Josh Taylor, Teofimo Lopez. Let's go. Let us see how that fight goes. I'm looking forward to that one. I really am. Taylor versus Lopez. Also announced, Edgar Barlanga will make his Matchroom debut, wait for it, against, drumroll, Jason Quigley. I mean, really. June the 24th against Jay Quigley. Really. Jay Quigley. Of all the people you could get for him to make his debut against, you get him. A guy who's never fought at 168 pounds. He's a career middleweight. Wasn't a particularly good middleweight. And Barlanga, who wants to get into fights with guys like Canelo and people like that, that's who you're putting him in with. I mean, he fought, what was his name, Caracas or something like Marco Esteban Caracas or something like that his name is. That guy is a career middleweight, and he done very well against Billy Joe Saunders on the Devin Haney. No, it wasn't Devin Haney, it was Jake Paul, or was it Logan Paul KSI? It was a YouTube boxing card that Eddie Hearn was co-working with when he put those world title fights on the undercard. He fought Billy Joe Saunders, gave a good account of himself, got stopped in the 11th round. Fought Barlanga on the undercard of Wilder versus Fury 3. And many people feel as though he beat Barlanga, myself included. That was kind of the level Barlanga is at. And it was a level where you can kind of do some work at, you can work around. Going to Jay Quigley is like dropping down 3 levels. I mean, Quigley is garbage. We all know it. Really, you couldn't have got a better opponent to fight than Jay Quigley for your Matchroom debut. Seriously. Prograis was apparently ringside at the show last night, or the other night. He's now a free agent, so expect him to be announced as a Matchroom fighter in the coming days, and expect him versus Jack Catterall to happen, well, probably after Jack Catterall has his next fight. I think he's fighting on the undercard of Lee Wood versus Mauricio Lara too. So expect him probably in September to fight Regis Prograis, which is a great fight. I'm looking forward to that fight. I would say that Regis Prograis beats the living crap out of Jack Catterall. Look, Jack Catterall is a good fighter and he's a good signing for Matchroom. But it's interesting, isn't it? You know, maybe there's a lot more truth to what Josh Taylor was saying about the Jack Catterall rematch falling apart, purely down to Ben Shalom, because Jack Catterall signed with Boxer and Ben Shalom not long after the Josh Taylor fight. Not long after it. And obviously he was promised the Josh Taylor rematch. Didn't happen. Was meant to actually fight, as far as I believe, on the undercard of Lawrence Cody versus David Light. Didn't happen. And around about the time after, well, we were hearing talk about Josh Taylor fighting Teofimo Lopez when it was in the kind of original talking phase, Josh Taylor was mentioning the fact that Ben Shalom was the reason that the rematch with Jack Catterall didn't happen. And obviously Jack Catterall's now left Ben Shalom. He's gone to Eddie Hearn. Never made even his official boxer debut, which kind of leads me to believe that probably was the case. You know, Ben Shalom, I mean, to say shifty isn't even the word. Ben Shalom, I mean, realistically, I mean, like, people were saying, yo, look, Ben Shalom, he's taken a load of Matchroom fighters. Well, a lot of Matchroom fighters that he's taken, it's kind of, how would you describe it? It's being balanced out by a lot of his fighters going and jumping ship to Matchroom. You know, as he never had Sonny Edwards, but Sonny Edwards is a good sign for Eddie Hearn. I know he had some girl, I can't remember her name, he's some girl anyway. She's signed with Eddie Hearn now, and obviously Jack Catterall has jumped shipped. And, you know, Jack Catterall, as I said, no disrespect, he had a great performance against Josh Taylor. Would I put him on that level of world level? I mean, he's certainly in the running, but Regis Prograis is tremendous, and I certainly wouldn't be picking Jack Catterall to beat Regis Prograis. I think he'll get absolutely eaten and spat out by by Regis Prograis. In my opinion. People, I think I've gone just over, well, if not near, the half-hour mark. So I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hope you are all having a great week wherever you are in the world. Obviously, bank holiday here in Ireland. I think it's the same in the UK as well. So that's why we're taking it. I said I'd do it in the morning before I go gym. Get a review of the week recorded. And we're back into it this week. Hopefully, we'll do a live this week. We'll have a guest on for a live this week. And other than that, I'll leave it there. I hope you have a great week. I hope something good happens to everyone listening. As I always say, the phone rings with good news for everyone, myself included. And for now, I'll leave you with that. People, smash the like button on the way out. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Let's keep it going. Let's get 12k in quick time. And for now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you with that.